Thanks for tuning in to our seller interview series. Up to date, we've got a two-site e-commerce package for sale in the entertainment and video game niche. Created in May 2013, this business makes $2,936 per month in net profit, and the listing number for this business is 40992. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the businesses they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller with us today to go through the business and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. Thanks for coming on, Jay.
G'day, how are you going? Good to be on the show.
Yeah, it's good to have you here, man. Before we dive into the questions, just to give a quick summary of the business for everyone out there listening in. As I already mentioned, it was built in May 2013, has a monthly revenue of $11,839, with expenses sitting at $8,902, for that net profit of $2,936. That is over a 12-month average. Included with the sale of this business is the 2 domain names, the 1 Facebook page, ad account, the Amazon store, where they list more of their products, the active campaign accounts, as well as obviously the e-commerce sites running NOP Commerce on Microsoft IIS and SQL Server, the Google Analytics and AdWords account, the supplier details, as well as the VA details. So that being said, Jay, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Sure thing. I've actually been involved in e-commerce and digital marketing for almost 20 years now.
Wow. You've seen quite a lot of changes then.
Absolutely. And I'm talking from very small operations to multi-million dollar sites for some household names, both in Australia and overseas. And I come from a web development background mainly. It's probably only in the last sort of 7 to 10 years where I've been more and more involved in the digital marketing aspect and provided a lot of consulting services on a day-to-day basis to a range of different companies. I've got a full-time job where all I do is digital marketing, so I sort of AdWords and Facebook, so that's kind of what I live and breathe. Yeah, so that's kind of my background. Did you want me to jump into how this particular business got started?
Yeah, how did you come up with the idea to start this? Was it something about this niche that you already really liked? Was it like competitive research that you did? How did that kind of come about without, giving away the URL or the specific product?
Yeah, sure thing. Look, there's definitely a little bit of interest, I would say, in the niche. I don't think I could choose a niche that I was totally removed from. This business came about with a friend of mine a few years back. He was madly into eBay stores. I was doing a lot of e-commerce and digital marketing. I wanted to start looking at importing from China and doing all that kind of thing. So we kind of joined forces. We tried a few different niches. We were testing on the eBay marketplace to see whether things got traction. We ended up trying, I think it was about 3 or 4 different niches, just in small quantities before this one kind of struck a chord. And we quickly saw the potential to develop a full-blown e-commerce store. There wasn't a high cost barrier to get into this niche, and we could import enough goods to sort of build out a fully complementary store, all the different categories and items and all that kind of thing. So we actually ran this business as a true e-commerce business. We're importing the stock, warehousing it locally, doing the pick and pack, all that kind of thing. And it probably wasn't until maybe about a year ago, I think, that we actually transitioned from a true e-commerce business where we were holding the stock to one we were actually drop shipping out of China. And that's where the niche is really, I guess, it's been pretty golden for us, because the average order value makes it possible for us to drop ship out of China using services like DHL Express, which can get the goods to Australia in 4 days. It can get it to US in 2 days, and it's all tracked, and we've really had minimal problems with it. We've definitely had more problems using the likes of Australia Post and the United States Postal Service in the past. So slowly sort of transitioned from true e-commerce into that drop shipping business. We ended up basically taking one of the employees that used to work for one of our suppliers, now works full-time in our business on the ground in China, and we've got a great relationship with them. They source new product for us, whatever it is. They do all the picking and packing. It's really fantastic, actually. Just a really good relationship there.
Yeah, so speaking of drop shipping, as this business has evolved for you, For someone looking at this business and perhaps it's their first acquisition, maybe they're not super familiar with the term drop shipping, could you just briefly describe how the business is actually making money and maybe what drop shipping is?
Yeah, sure thing. So I guess in a sense for me, drop shipping, one of the great advantages of it, you don't have to hold the stock, you don't have to put down the money for the stock. The way it works for us is that our suppliers got full access to our e-commerce platform. They log in, they see the order, they ship it to the customer, and then on a weekly basis, we pay them 60% of the total invoice, which leaves us a 40% gross margin to pay ourselves, to pay for our marketing efforts and any other costs. It's also the responsibility of the supplier to make sure that the costs in which the goods are being retailed at work for them, that they get enough money for their cost of goods, for them to have a living wage, etc. It's very hands-off. It's almost like a drop shipping business with bonuses. With a traditional drop shipping business, you'd have to constantly keep an eye on, what your retail is, what the wholesale costs, etc. And especially if you're trading globally, which we are, we will send pretty much anywhere in the world. Once you start getting, US dollars, Australian dollars, Chinese yuan, starts getting complex. So that's one headache that is removed. Yeah.
So with that said, it sounds like you have a pretty good system here set up through supplier and so on. And obviously you're growing globally with the business. Why are you selling the business? Why not just keep it and keep growing it?
Yeah, sure. So this business is running under a partnership. And I guess one thing I'll say, don't get me wrong, we are not in a hurry to sell this business. It requires minimal work and it puts money in our pocket each month. And it's so fuss free. This business is running under a partnership, and one half of that partnership isn't digital at all, isn't digital focused, isn't digital savvy. So we're looking to jump into the next best thing, which is going to basically require quite a bit of capital to get started. It's basically a business that's going to be centered around building quite a bit of brand. There is going to be money down on stock. It's the next, I guess, evolution of our business, because at the moment the business is really pretty much run by mainly by myself. Well, my partner does a lot of the administration as far as tax and accounting and banking and all that boring stuff. It's really basically in a position now where it's set up, and as a collective, as a partnership, we can't kind of evenly contribute to the business, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we're basically looking at that next opportunity where we can both give 50% or even proportion of effort into that next business.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're also planning using sounds like the capital from the sale of this business to get that other project off the ground and running from the sounds of it, yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's quite a bit of savings and capital from this business. Yeah, it's pretty exciting what we're looking to do next.
Excellent. That's cool, man. So when you first started this, the original dropship store, it was an Australian store, and now you also have a US-based store as well. But when you first started, what was the trajectory of this business for those first few weeks and months? And also, maybe you could talk a little bit about how the trajectory of that US store went once you opened it.
Yeah, sure. So I guess when we talk about trajectory, the Australian store probably, I guess, it had it grew from a point of nothing, 2,000 a month to 5,000 a month to 10,000 a month. I'm talking Australian dollars here. And it basically got to a point where it was steadily doing sort of around the sort of $10,000 a month, even higher in those sort of Christmas periods. And I feel like it's kind of gone as far as it can go for the Australian market in terms of that Australian store. There's definitely work that could be done to improve it. It's still running an old version of our brand site, whereas the global sites has had a full facelift, etc. But from an SEO perspective, in Australia, for all our keywords, we're pretty much number 1, 2, 3 on Google for organic. We get pretty much, I think it's about 50% of our traffic via that organic channel. Yeah, so basically that's how the Australian store sort of kicked off. And the way that the US store kind of kicked off, as I mentioned, an employee of one of our suppliers in China actually approached us after they'd come back from maternity leave, and they sort of asked us for a job. And we said, well, we're not really in the position to hire anyone just yet, but how about if we open up a global store and you become like the drop shipper? totally open to that agreement. And so we basically built out a new global store. We started that about 8 or 9 months ago now. Didn't take long for the first sale to come through, and $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. It quickly grew up to, and it's still on a bit of a growth phase here. So, we were looking at, I'm looking at my profit and loss here. So we kind of went sort of, $500, $2,000, $3,500, $3,000, up to sort of $4,000 a month that it was doing. Best month so far on that US store is about $7,000.
Excellent.
So it's really starting to grow. And probably another thing that's worthwhile pointing out is since we've kicked off that US store and since it's gotten some traction and starting to do some real numbers, we've invested a lot of money in advertising just that global store alone and getting its name out there in the marketplace. So the Australian store, as far as marketing, hasn't seen much love. So its sales have probably dipped a little bit. So by probably revisiting the advertising for the Australian store, getting the hype back up there, there's definitely some opportunity there. So a lot of advertising dollars have been spent trying to get the .com version of the site into the limelight, and it's starting to climb. It's started to do fairly well in organic traffic now. And I think the way that we position ourselves in the market within this niche is quite unique.
Is there anything it sounds like you've been pretty successful with the Australian store, and now the US store seems to be kind of overtaking that success, which is awesome. It's even better. But is there one thing you learned from operating this business? Maybe one trick or lesson that you learned that you're going to be applying to your other projects and businesses down the road?
Yeah, look, I think probably, I've been in digital marketing for a long time. I think watching your advertising spend, making sure you're measuring where the dollars are coming from, understanding what multi-touch attribution is, that kind of thing is just golden. We've managed to take a product that's quite generic and market it in a way that really works. We've got a brand name that is starting to have its own reputation. It's got a strong Facebook following. Not really sort of getting back to this one lesson learnt, really, but I think at the end of the day it is concentrate on net profit, knowing where the money's going. The net profit percentage has grown over the last probably 12 months of the business. And I think that in the early days, it's very easy to get carried away when you see a lot of revenue coming in and you think, we've got lots of money, we'll go and spend this on ads and we'll go and get some cool equipment for the office and all that kind of thing. Really kind of basically watching where you're spending and making sure that you're getting that return on investment. So probably from running a business point of view, that watching where your money's going and asking yourself before you buy anything for your business, how many units do I have to ship in order to just pay for that thing that I'm about to purchase? And a lot of the time you find yourself coming back and saying, maybe I don't really need that.
That's a really, that's a pretty good lesson to have, because it puts everything in a more realistic way of looking at it, right? Back when I was a freelance writer, I do the same thing with how many words does this cup of coffee cost me, or whatever I was, buying, even stuff for pleasure, lunch or whatever, much less business investments. I think that's a very important way to look at it. How many products is this going to cost me to do this, website redesign or whatever? So,
yeah, sort of at the position with this business now where we don't see the product, we rarely log onto the website. I'll be looking at Facebook ads or Google ads once every week or two for an hour or two. But that's kind of about it, and answering the odd question from the supplier or the virtual assistant. That's about it. So all we really tend to look at is those figures. What's our advertising spend? We know that 60% of our revenue goes straight away to the supplier. So it's really maximizing that 40% that we've got left, making sure we squeeze every advertising dollar as best we can.
Is there anything on the flip side? And this might be an easier question than a lesson that worked, because we tend to remember these ones more, but is there anything that didn't work? Maybe a failure, maybe you did something and you're like, man, I wish I hadn't done that.
Look, I think that this is probably speaking a bit more on the whole. We've run this business quite successfully for the last 3 years, and we've probably tried to dabble into other niches and not given them the full attention that they deserve. And what we kind of ended up with, a business that we tried to launch that failed. And this business also suffered at those times because we were kind of spreading ourselves too thinly across multiple businesses. So I think it's really a case of just sort of keeping your eye on the prize. And if you're going to start something, do it full force.
Yeah.
Don't take a half-assed attempt, at getting it going. And I think that's where we've seen things dip, or where we've been maybe a little bit lazy with our advertising spend. We all know how quickly you can burn through money on things like Facebook advertising, like search advertising. Yeah, that's probably where some of those things have occurred.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. I've heard stories of a guy, running an AdWords campaign. I think he spent like $5 or $8,000 in that month, and he didn't realize he was sending them to a broken link. Just didn't check to make sure everything was right.
Yeah.
Never a fun moment when something like that happens. With your business in particular, how many, so you're getting the majority of your traffic from paid, is that correct? Except for your Australian store where it's just getting mainly from organic?
Yeah, look, I think that would probably be sitting a little bit, I'm going to try and log into my Google Analytics account now, but my gut feeling is that at present, predominantly we're getting traffic from social and organic over the likes of AdWords. So we still run 2 campaigns. They've been set up. We've been in the business 3 years. We know what keywords work for us. Our campaign's pretty simple in the way that they're set up, and I don't really see much need to change them a great deal other than just keep an eye on them, the negative keywords, etc.
With that said, how many products are you actually selling on your store? And if it's more than one, do you find that only one product is earning the lion's share? Are you running just ads to that one product, or how does that look like?
Yeah, so I guess the total amount of products that are advertised on our store, probably around the sort of 150 to 200. And we do a lot of like bundling of products as well. And it's in those bundling of those products, that's what we really try and push, because that gets your average order value up. Even though people can buy things individually from us, we really try and get them to buy a bundle of goods from us. That makes their life easier. We get a bigger order value. And yeah, so that's kind of what works. Just jumping back to the acquisition. So the last couple of months, we've sort of seen 43% come from social, and the next is organic at 24%. Paid search has only been 10%.
Excellent. Nice. I'm sorry, how many products did you say you were selling on your e-commerce store?
Between 150 to 200.
150, 200. Okay, cool. And out of those 150, 200 products, they're all 100% drop shipped, right? You're not actually storing any inventory yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. One of the other great things is obviously our supplier, who we kind of consider a bit of an employee or partner in this business. It's almost a bit harsh just calling them a supplier. They're in the niche over there, and they're constantly seeing new products come, and they'll come to us and they'll say, how about we put that on the site? And we've set them up with a camera and all that kind of thing over there. So we say, yeah, go for it. So they'll get a sample of the goods, they'll take the photo, they'll send it to the VA, and it'll be up on the site. So we've got almost that content, all those new products ads, that's on autopilot as well.
Oh, that's really cool. So they'll actually create the listing for you. Are they writing the listing descriptions as well, or?
Yeah, so they will do that, and that's probably one of, I guess, the opportunities to take our business to the next level. We've been a bit lazy in terms of descriptions and whatnot. A real wordsmith could do wonders with our site because we just go the bare bones. The products that we sell, it's easy enough for our supplier or the VA to add them to the site and do a listing that's good enough. But in order to create a great listing and great content, might need someone that's kind of English as their first language, a Western speaker,
right,
to really give it, especially the higher priced listings, where we're talking sort of $500 a product, and above. Those listings would really benefit with some good copy.
What exactly is your VA doing for you right now? You mentioned that she'll somebody write these listing descriptions, but is she doing, are they doing anything else?
So we've got a VA that we use on and off. The VA is available to the buyer, but isn't required to run the business. We've got a unique arrangement with them. We're effectively paying them a commission of 5% of sales in order to do all the customer live chat, all that kind of thing. They're based in the Philippines. They've got great English, We just find that we get a little bit better conversion rate if we use that VA as opposed to the supplier who's also happy to answer customer queries and all that kind of thing. So they're quite capable of creating listings and all that kind of thing.
Excellent. And are you also adding content to this site, like a blog or anything like that, or adding content on a monthly basis, if so?
No, we're not really. Yeah, as I sort of said, we've been a little bit lazy. One of the things I guess we're a bit lucky is that the kind of product we sell and what you do with it really lends itself well to creating a community. And our Facebook community, they post a lot of content which gets people inspired to buy our product. But it's definitely one of the opportunities for the business going forward to do the content. We've started doing a little bit of email marketing. I think that's a really good opportunity going forward for the business.
How many email subscribers do you have now? Just general.
I think we've got about 2,500 that are based in the US and 1,200 in Australia.
Awesome. Really cool. When it comes to the stability of the earnings, is there any kind of seasonality where it really peaks outside of the traditional holiday period, or is it pretty stable throughout the year?
It is fairly stable, probably January to October. It's fairly stable, and then you're probably looking at almost a 75% increase in the November, December months.
Good months.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with the Amazon side of the business, we do a lot of merchant fulfilled as opposed to FBA, but suppliers all set up to do FBA shipments should the buyer want to do that. And we have last year, I guess it was our first, we've only been on Amazon for about 7 months, I should point out, but we did a lot of FBA just Christmas time last year and couldn't get the stock there fast enough. So that might be a really good opportunity, is going into those Christmas months, pumping some stock and going via the FBA channel.
I think that's a really intriguing thing you're doing here, because I don't hear many people who are doing drop shipping in such a way where their dropship product is an actual Amazon listing that people can go and search for on Amazon. Usually people I hear are doing the FBA route where they're storing. So maybe you can dive just a little bit into how that works. Like, so how are you drop shipping on Amazon? Did you just have to apply for that listing, or what is it?
It's really cool and it's really simple. Like, just for example, just earlier this morning, we sold a product on Amazon. I think it was about $550 odd. So if we do the math on that, straight away the supplier gets 60%. So there's, say, $300 odd. Amazon's going to get around 18%, I think 15 to 18% for that listing. So we're still making $120 just off one sale.
That's great. Are all of your products on Amazon as well, or have you not uploaded them all yet?
Yeah, so obviously that probably only works with products that are above $100.
Okay.
$100 and above. So we've basically got all the products that we sell that are above $100 sitting on that Amazon platform, because that works for our supplier. Obviously, if our supplier's got to send something that's only $2 or $3 worth, that's where they'll kind of actually lose money.
Right, that makes sense. And so, you just basically contact Amazon, set up the listing through one of their programs. I'm sorry, I'm just new to this concept, so it fascinates me.
Yeah, the same way that you do FBA, you still create a product, but instead of an FBA listing, it's a merchant fulfilled listing. We've got, I think, there's almost 200 listings that we've got on Amazon. And just like with the e-commerce platforms, the supplier they get a notification that there's been a sale. They log into Amazon, they get the order particulars, they ship the product, they key in the consignment number for parcel tracking, DHL, and that's it. And we get the money. I mean, it's super fantastic. It's probably representative of about 30% of our revenue at the moment. Yeah, happy to watch that one grow. And I'm not an Amazon expert either. This is my first foray into Amazon. So again, that's a real good opportunity. Someone that's really got the Amazon shops that might be able to come in, do some listing optimization, do some pay-per-click via Amazon. If they can get a lift in that, I mean, talk about money for jam. It's super easy. Yeah, and we've had very little problems with it.
Segues perfectly into my next question, which, your answer might be what you just said, but let's pretend you're going to keep the business and keep growing it. What would be the least risky path you'd focus on to grow the business?
The least risky would almost be to sit back and do nothing. It's sitting there. We are noticing it growing steadily. we have not been putting a tremendous amount of effort in this business towards growth, apart from doing things like getting our global store, focusing on the North American market, getting the Amazon listing up. That's kind of about it. And it's kind of on cruise control for us now. Probably the least risky path would be, classic example would be we're only in the Amazon North American marketplace. So imagine how easy it is just to get all those products and move them over to Europe. The supplier's ready, willing to start shipping into that part of the world, and straight away you've turned on another channel. All the products, all the listings are there. Just export from one marketplace, import into another. Heck, that's maybe I might even do that this week.
Yeah. You're welcome for helping you with that brainstorming session.
So that's really what I would say would be the least risk, because there's no cost outlay. You're getting more exposure into another area, and then you could look at doing it into maybe Japan, look at all the different Amazon marketplaces that are there. And as far as I know, there's some easy means in which you can export your listings and import them quite easily. So probably be the least riskiest way to grow the business.
So if you were incredibly risky, just kind of threw caution into the wind and wanted to grow this business as quickly as possible, would you do anything different?
I think to take this business to the next level, I think content marketing's going to need to come into the fray. Now, that might have to be totally outsourced, or you might be the type of business that sees this product and think, wow, I love this. I can really get into this. And I think that if you're a male in their late 30s, early 40s, you probably will definitely get into this business, or at least be able to, it should strike a chord with you. And, getting the content out there and really kind of spreading the word and educating the people that, oh, hey, this product is available and you can do this. That's kind of, I think, what needs to be done to take this business to the next level.
So you'd really level up the content marketing approach. I'm assuming every front, like the SEO, the content for paid traffic, like the blog, everything, that kind of thing?
Not so much from the traffic generation side of thing, but to increase the conversion rate, to just really to get the word out there about this kind of product.
Okay.
And to educate people as well.
That's definitely one of the beauties of content marketing, is education while also being promotional without feeling promotional, right?
That's right. And it's got like our Facebook, like the stuff that we do on social, it's the content that can be produced. It's incredibly social friendly. It's very shareable. It's not unusual for us to run an ad on Facebook and we're getting 1-2 cent clicks through to the site. It's really quite a great thing for us. So getting people to the site from an awareness perspective after seeing something on Facebook is incredibly cheap. It's probably just that middle of the funnel kind of content that needs to be created. It's like, well, you've seen that, but here's what you need to do to be able to take our product and run with it, basically.
Excellent. Now,
not that it's got anything to do with exercise.
When it comes to actual risk with this business, what do you think the biggest risk is that a buyer should be aware of?
Probably the biggest risk is, that the product that we sell is generic, but it's just the way that we market it that probably makes us unique. So the biggest risk would be, I guess, people trying to copycat. Look, we've got competitors in the marketplace. We're not afraid of competition. We don't sell the products that we sell. You can get them cheaper elsewhere, and we probably lose a lot of business because people do choose to buy them elsewhere. But at the end of the day, we've created a brand that's got trust and authority, and it works for us, So we've kind of taken that path of going for quality of margin over volume. Everything's kind of calculated with net profit in mind, and we're just happy to get a slice of the pie. So that's what I'd sort of see as a risk, is someone else coming along and maybe getting better content than what we have up there, presenting their same offering in a better manner. And that's where I think the new buyer would need to really look at taking that business, to constantly be aware of the competitors that are out there and making sure that you're always kind of one-upping them. And I find that's been really easier for us to do in the past just because of our setup. We can quickly get access to new products because we've got someone on the ground in China that can go and speak to new suppliers, that can get samples really quickly, that can take photos and get the product up on the website. There's no waiting. We can get product samples same day, get photos, get them up on the website, ready for sale, put a Facebook post out there. So that's a real benefit of this business.
Yeah. When it comes to work required, you kind of already alluded to it. It doesn't take too much time to maintain, but what are you doing right now on a weekly or monthly basis to maintain the business?
Yeah, so really just looking after paid traffic. And it's really just a case of keeping a close eye to make sure we're not overspending, to make sure that, there's no rogue keywords that are costing lots of money. We'll do the odd post on our Facebook page just to keep the engagement up there, but there's usually something that will trigger that. An example is we got a whole bunch of fidget spinners made with our logo on it, and we just did a post on our Facebook page saying, oh, no, the next 100 orders, you can get a fidget spinner. Real shameless plug and riding the hype. I mean, that's an example of something that only took 5 minutes to do the post. It probably was another 5-minute Skype conversation with our supplier saying, oh, can you go and get some fidget spinners and get our logo made on it? And they were like, yep. And we got an email back a couple of weeks later, yep, got them. Here's the photo of one, post, done. It was really, really quick.
Nice.
The supplier is really quite autonomous. There's really, apart from making sure they're paid, they really don't ask much of you.
That's great. It sounds like you have a very good relationship with the supplier. I'm assuming the supplier knows you're selling the business as well, or?
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah.
I mean, this supplier's probably got themselves and a couple of their family members working in the business now because, there's probably about 100 plus items that go out every month. And sometimes they can be quite finicky to, put together and ship out. One of the reasons I'm glad to not picking and packing again. But yeah, absolutely 100% keen to work with a new buyer. If this arrangement isn't suiting to the new buyer and they wanted to go down the true e-commerce route or do something totally different, I mean, that's their decision. That's not something that we can force upon them.
Is there any skills you'd suggest for a buyer to have before they purchase a business like this?
I guess the e-commerce platform that we use, Not Commerce, it's probably a little bit oddball. You probably don't see too many sites come up that are running that software. It does have a good sort of following and it's very, very easy to use. We can provide details of developers that can support the platform if you're able to, but it's very, very well documented and you get a lot of features for not a great deal of cost, but maybe the new buyer would want to upgrade to Shopify if they felt more comfortable or some other platform. But there's not really any skills. Like, I believe that the new buyer would need to at least get some product training, probably some hands-on product training. I'd never seen this. Well, I knew this product existed, but I'd never had any hands-on training with this product until a whole heap of it from China to start selling and
Nice.
then started playing around with it. And then over time, basically got to know the answers to the questions that customers are asking and stuff like that. But it's a technical product, but it's not overly complex. Anyone that's IT savvy should be able to get their heads around it pretty quickly. Our VA that we use answers pretty much every question that gets thrown at them. If they can't answer the question, they can go to the supplier and the supplier can chase up the answer to the question. We've got user manuals that we've written, which we can send out to people that answers most questions. We use Freshdesk, and there's a bit of a knowledge base there as well with tickets and whatnot.
Excellent. So moving into some wrap-up questions here, would you be willing to commit to a non-compete with the buyer?
Absolutely, yep. So we will be stepping out of this niche and won't be re-entering. And it's a great niche. It's one of those, I've been racking my brains for another niche where you can drop ship out of China so efficiently and achieve net profit in the 20 to 25% mark. And I just haven't found one. So yeah, definitely willing to sign a non-compete.
Excellent. How much support would you be willing to offer that buyer?
Support? Look, I don't think there's going to be a lot of support required. I'm happy for whatever it takes. I don't see it taking any more than a few phone calls, a few emails, some Skype chats. We have to kind of remember here that the supplier that's coming along with the business has access to all the manufacturers. They can get technical answers to the problem. They know how to use the e-commerce platform. Do you know what I mean? So there's really,
Yeah.
you're getting, this supplier is so crucial to this business. You're getting all that knowledge with you, sort of thing. So yeah, not a great deal.
With that said, the best case scenario here for you, obviously, and for Empire Flippers is someone comes in and buys the business outright for full list price. But that being said, would you at all be open to, say, 80% down with 20% over a period of months, or perhaps over a certain training period, something like that?
Yeah, look, we would definitely be sort of open to something like that. Probably need to be sort of weighted in that sort of, probably definitely want to see a lion's share upfront payment. I think it's really important to know that we're using a 12-month average of net profit to price this business. But 12 months ago, we didn't have an Amazon store.
Yeah, it's definitely definitely a good buy for the buyer, right?
12 months ago, we didn't have our global store. If I look at our last 3 months of net profit, it's $1,000 more than what we're listed at. No, like net profit, and we still haven't finished June. Keeping in mind, we've still got a few days of trading left, but yeah, last 3 months net profit. I'm looking at it right here. It's $3,779. So if you take the multiple, yeah. So I think each month that we continue on, the price of this business is actually going to rise.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like it. Every new month, your value of it will go up from the sounds of it, or if it keeps on this trajectory.
April for us was a great month, 4,400 in net profit. May was 3,300, and we're already sitting at 3,500 in net profit for June already. So, yeah, so bring it on.
So I have one final question left for you, Jeff. But before I get into that question, I just want to give a quick summary of the business again for everyone listening in. As I mentioned, the business was built in May 2013, has a monthly revenue of $11,839 with expenses sitting at $8,902, and for that total net profit of $2,936 over a 12-month average. And as Jay just mentioned, the value of that could be going up. So included with the sale is the 2 domain names, the Facebook page, an ad account, Amazon store, active campaign account, the 2 e-commerce stores running NopCommerce, Microsoft IIS, SQL Server, as well as the Google Analytics and AdWords account. And the supplier details, along with the V8 details, will be given to the new buyer. So, Jay, my final question for you, my hot seat question, if you will, is what is your best pitch in 30 seconds or less on why someone should purchase your business?
Yeah, talk about hot seat question. Why should someone purchase my business? It is incredibly hands-off. It's a really fun niche if you're in the right demographic. It's got a lot of pressure, social value. It works well, in the social space. We're not talking about something that is going to die out tomorrow. It's not a craze. It's definitely got a lot of life left in it. And yeah, look, I just think it's a really good example of making drop shipping in China or drop shipping out of China to a global market work. A lot of people would advise against it, but I think we've really cracked the case here. And yeah, look, we've just got a great relationship with the supplier. Yeah, really good product that appeals to quite a large audience. And it's got a net income that it is climbing. You look at what we've done in Australia. Australia's only 20 million people. You've got 300 million plus over in the States. So, I mean, that should really whet the appetite in terms of where this business can go, just on a kind of a multiple of population in the US compared to Australia, let alone the world, which we're set up to do. Yeah.
I think those are all fantastic points. It sounds like a super solid business, great supplier. It sounds like you have the systems in place and are already experiencing some of the fruit of you scaling into other multi-channel selling and different geographies. So I think that's really cool. For everyone out there, if you're watching this on YouTube and you want more information, the link will be below this video in the video description. That will take you to the marketplace listing. Now, if you're watching this on the listing page and you want more information, you can become a depositor today. It's super simple. All you have to do is click the button, make a deposit, and you'll be given everything you need to review this business. So, Jay, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you.